In today's world, you don't need to be a billionaire to be able to live in 2 or 3 countries around the world. The most frustrating part is when you visualize a journey, a holiday, a business trip, and it has to start with, I need a visa. So convincing government that this has to change. I can travel to 92% of the world today without thinking if I should apply for a visa or not. That's where Arton Capital is going.
Because I see a disturbing trend today, not with migration itself, with the way we see migration.
The place where we're born will not dictate who we are, where we can go, or what we can become.
This was the foundation of Arton Capital.
If we are becoming a government partner on that level to as many countries as possible and letting technology transform not for 500 families per year, but for 50 million, 100 million passengers per year.
Where are you going to go in the next 5 years?
My dream is to transform the way every person is going to cross a border. I would see a world without visas.
Do you think it can happen?
Absolutely.
Crazy. Gladiators, welcome back to this episode of In the Arena with Dariush. Today I have a special guest. This gentleman I met about 15 years ago. Although he's younger than me, he was extremely successful then, he's 15 years ago, and he's even more successful today. And he was somebody that I looked up to 15 years back, and I still look up to him today. So welcome to the arena. Thank you, Armand Arton. Thank you so much for attending.
Happy to answer.
Please, so tell me a little about your background, please.
So I am born in Bulgaria, from Armenian background, origins. My grandparents were immigrating from Turkey during the beginning of the century. My grandparents were born in Greece and my parents were born in Bulgaria. So I'm second generation born in that country, always with values of Armenian history and culture, very close to the Persian ones. And there is many Armenians in Iran as well. I was born during the communist period of 76 to 89. Now, my parents were sent as teachers to work in Morocco. And as somebody living in a communist country, being given the opportunity to go and teach kids in Africa, the only way my parents saw it is an opportunity to cross Europe and see how the West lives on the other side of the curtain. So they took that opportunity, even though they were never being teachers. They just spoke multiple languages and they had master degrees. So we went to Morocco and crossed 5 years in a row Europe by car. So that created the need of asking for 14 visas across 14 countries. Europe, Schengen didn't exist at the time. And it was a blessing and a curse. So a blessing because we were able to see countries like France, Italy, Spain, Holland, Switzerland, and Croatia, Serbia, who were still on our side of the block. And curse because we had to wait for about a month of lines in process for visas in every country. At every border, we treat us as potential refugees. Well, we're saying, no, we're just crossing your country. We work in that country. We're just passing by for 2-3 days. So before I turned 10, I had more than 40 visas in my passport. It wasn't mine. I was attached to my parents' passport. But I guess I was traumatized enough by visas and borders. And I saw how the West was living. So coming back after my parents' contract finished in Bulgaria and living in that communist reality for 5-6 years was a difficult part. End of the 80s, Bulgaria went through a financial crisis as well. And 89 is where, everything finished and the Berlin Wall fell down. So the first thing we decided at that time was like, we're going to leave the country. And Canada was at that time a very popular destination for people from Bulgaria to immigrate. It took us about a 2-year of process and paperwork. And first we got rejected. My parents objected and then we got accepted. And then I, as a teenager, arrived in Canada with a passion to be a stockbroker. And very quickly, after 4 or 5 years, having the Canadian passport made me realize what it means crossing the same borders in Europe, but with a different passport where everybody smiles at you and welcomes you. And like, hold on, I'm the same little boy 20 years ago. You treat me as a refugee. Now I'm coming with the same name, different passport, and I'm a different person. So that realization, I think, of what a little paper book can tell about you, which you didn't choose. You didn't choose where you were born,
yes,
or what passport comes from, can define so much. and in the same time, how immigration and the businesses I build in, how can really transform that is really my passion.
Amazing. And when did you start the business? Was it Arton Capital right from the beginning?
So
And
my
what
passion
brought you to Dubai?
Yes, my passion was finance. So as I said, since 14 years old, I dreamt to be a stockbroker. And but I was speaking only French, Bulgarian, and Armenian, and Russian, no English. So being a stockbroker in Wall Street, not speaking English, is not going to work well. So Canada was, as I said, the country that represented the best of the world, where my parents can work, I can study in French, I can work in finance. And very young, I started having all the courses to be a stockbroker. So I was licensed as one of the youngest stockbrokers in Canada before I was 18 with Nesbitt Burns and Bank of Montreal. Started in the investment industry, registered the first regulated by students mutual fund in my university. So entrepreneurship, finance was really things that drove me from a very young age. And I remember it was around 2000, when a Chinese client that we're managing the funds for asked me to buy a bond. And the bond was called Immigrant Investor Bond. I was like, oh, immigrant. I just went off through a lot of hassle to remove that from my label. You know, why would you buy that immigrant bond and has zero interest? I was like, are you crazy? Interest is like 6%. Why would you buy not the normal one? I said, no, son, you don't understand. He was older man. He's like, that bond brings me something more valuable than money. It brings me the access to Canada. It is a bond that if I buy, I become a permanent resident much quicker. And this is my wow moment when I realized, hold on a second, there is a trade-off here where people invest money in a country like Canada that needs these people, needs their money. In exchange, they renounce to the interest and they obtain something more valuable than interest to them.
At the end of the bond, they can get their money back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just zero interest.
Yeah, it's guaranteed by
Wow.
AAA country like Canada. So this is where I want to sell that bond. You know, who can sell that bond? And I couldn't buy it actually in the system. So I realized there's only 6 people in the country who could buy this bond. I'm like, okay, well, I want to be number 7. By the time I get all the things done, September 11 comes. So my bank was the second largest in Canada. They said, listen, very good idea. I presented the business plan and everything. They said, we don't want Arabs. We don't want Chinese. We don't want Russians. So who do you want? Oh, only Americans and French.
Oh, fantastic.
I said, that's not who the clients are ready to pay. Sure. At that time, it was $400,000 to be a resident here. So I realized something as well, that the big financial institutions don't understand this specific industry, high risk, big reputation. So I went to a smaller firm, which I convinced very easily because the owner was Lebanese. Literally within 2 hours, I presented the case. He gave me a check and I became a vice president of that division. I did it for 2 years. And then I realized that, you know what, I'm ready to do it for myself. And I remember sending an email by mistake to, at that time, an associate saying, I think, you know, I was in China, I remember very well. And after a dinner from BlackBerry at that time, I was sending a message like, why I'm promoting Hampton Securities when nobody knows who Hampton is. I mean, it could be Arton Capital, nobody would care, you know, and I, by mistake, CC'd the owner of the firm. And he replied saying, you know what, son, I think you're ready. I'll help you.
That's good.
And with his blessing, I started my own investment firm and transferred my clients and my know-how. And then I was, at that time, we were 16 in Canada selling it, not 7 anymore. But I was competing with the large institutions in the country, National Bank, Desjardins, HSBC, who were regulated to do this. We were attracting around 10,000 people per year investing in.
So you could do what you wanted to with the bond, money.
The money was blocked by the government, and the interest that the client renounced was managed by us as brokers to give it to small or medium businesses.
So the Canadian government gave you interest, but not to the client.
Exactly. It was managed by the broker to be given to small or medium businesses.
So the more money you raised, the more interest you earned.
Yeah, that was a $2 billion profit to the country.
Incredible, incredible. And the client didn't pay any extra. Because you were managing the client through the interest you were earning from the government. That's
correct. And many clients say, well, if now, by the way, it's 1.2 million. Huh? When I started 20 years ago, it was 400. Now it's 1.2 million.
Is there any age restrictions? Because I'll tell you what, 1990, I went to Australia and I didn't have the money, but I fitted the age gap group. Now I have the money. I think I'm over the edge with the age.
Most of the clients in this specific category of what we call investment migration are over the age, with experience and money, but don't check all the rest of the boxes in what they call the point system. So
Yes.
Canada, Australia, New Zealand have a point system. If you're young, educated, speak the language, you could come as a skilled person.
Yes.
If you don't have this job back, so you don't speak the language, you're older, but you do have the money, well, we have for you this passive investment where you invest $1 to $5 million and then you become a resident.
I see. So the answer is they still take your money.
Of course.
They're never going to say no to you unless... Amazing. What brought you to Dubai?
So in 2005, I had friends who were living here already from Canada, and they said, you have to come, and there's so many clients for you. And the only agent who was here was Sam Bayat, somebody that you know as well. So I called a couple of Canadians living here. I said, listen, I will come. I'll make a conference talking about...
So he's Canadian, you're in.
Yes. And we hired a company who said, yeah, we have 300 people confirmed in Fairmount Hotel in Sheikh Zayed. So we are coming. There's like 30 people in the conference room. So said traffic, Habibi. So realized we got fooled. And that night I went out with friends and I met my future wife. Is
she Bulgarian?
She's German. She was working in the German embassy. She was doing a stage. She was here for 6 months. And then the rest is kind of history.
You fell in love and you justified moving to here to be with her.
At that time, I had that boss who was in Toronto, and I said, listen, we need to open an office in Dubai. He said, okay, go ahead. So I opened an office first for him. 1 year later, I transferred my business to my own Arton Capital and Arton Investments group of companies. And we stayed here and built my life and 3 kids over the last 20 years. It was actually exactly 20 years ago.
Wonderful. Yeah, 5 years ahead of me. So somewhere along the way, you were a salesperson, right? Because 2002, 3, you started your own fund, attracting investors to buy this 0% bond. You had to attract them. You were competing with other people. Or was it like you had an influx of people coming without you advertising? Or?
Dariush, we're always salespeople. Everybody's a salesperson. I think from the moment we're born to the moment we die.
Just some people don't like the name sales, but we're all salespeople, I agree. So how did you go about getting your clients?
Yeah. So my first sales experience started in 97 when I wanted to be a stockbroker. And I remember sending my CVs to all the brokerage, including Goldman Sachs. And nobody would answer. Like, okay, well, I need to do something to make them answer, right? So my last name was Armand Arton Chilingirian. So already that was half of the alphabet in one last name. I would do spelling mistake myself in the name. And then I realized that to catch their attention, I had probably 10 seconds because they would receive, hundreds of white pages, standardized CVs. Sure. So I looked into how companies analyze stocks, and every brokerage house has normally a format where they'll have the title of the stock, so Bell Canada or Royal Bank of Canada or Microsoft. Then they'll say recommendation, buy, hold, sell. And then they'll say short summary, why, and then they will analyze historic performances. So I did my CV literally as a copy paste of the research department of every of the firm. So for Bank of Montreal, for Royal Bank, for Goldman Sachs. And I said, Armand Arton, buy, hire, strong hire.
I like
and
that.
Why? I got every single interview with every single
because you were creative.
Yeah.
You were fun.
I think the marketing part definitely sells. Think outside of the box, take risks, because again, I took the logo of their banks. I duplicated without permission.
Yes.
And it requires ballsy move. And coming up just with something different, that stands out as a format so when you have A4 100 pages and you have something that is from carton and is bigger, comes out, definitely going to pick it. What is this? Is the same color as my research? Is it by mistake here? Oh, no, it's a CV. Who is this guy? And 10 minutes later, I had a phone call.
Wow, amazing. And then how did you gain your clients? When you opened up your own firm, how did you get your Chinese clients to come and... invest in your bond?
So once I was hired in Nesbitt Burns, at that time in the end of 90s was cold calling. So literally I was thrown the first day when I had my first day as working for a broker. He said, find me a client. This is the speech. That's what I say to clients. This is the yellow pages of all businesses that have 100 employees and more. So every CEO normally would fit in to be a client of mine. Call them, tell them that you would like them to introduce me as a broker, review their portfolios, and bring them to my office. Literally 1 hour later, I had a client who had 1.5 million, very upset with his current broker, and I just called at the right time, offered him a second opinion. The next day he came in and my boss closed the client and said, oh my God, you're hired on the spot. So cold calling, not feeling rejection, which is not a natural thing for any human being. I had to change my name because, again, calling with Armand Chilingir, how is it spelled? TCHILI.
And you get stuck with
They would, so I, at one point, looked at my name, Armand Arton Chilingir, and said, you know what, I'm very proud of my origins, but my father's name is becoming my last name. And middle name became Chilingirian, which I don't put anywhere. But yeah, I think that brings that confidence in you that anything can be done. Every person you're speaking to is just another human being. It doesn't matter how rich, how famous, how powerful. And building that connection.
We're going to come to that because I've seen you talk to A-listed movie stars and you just treat them just like normal human beings, right? Most people will be shaking and shivering and stuff. We met in Europe. You invited me to, although I paid, you invited me to, was it Montenegro?
Correct.
Yeah. And Robert De Niro was there. And when you guys came and you were like best friends and stuff, and I was thinking, wow. And there were other stars there. And we had Robin Sharma speaking, and you spoke to him about him like he was your friend. So when did you get involved with the rich and famous? And what was your first memory of it? And how did you feel meeting an A-listed movie star or a politician?
I started first working with heads of states because of the work I do. So I think after meeting clients and important clients, dealing with prime ministers, presidents, ministers, and going to the UN was a dream, and in the same time became a reality, which today it's very normal for me to deal and to interact with the head of states. And this is when in 2013 we started our nonprofit, the Global Citizen Forum. It was a community, a gathering, the one that you attended in Montenegro, where we talked about what it means to be a global citizen. And I think the subject of global citizenship, it's so popular and resonates with so many people that it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, Robert De Niro, Eva Longoria, Ricky Martin, Natalie Emmanuel, Robin Sharma, and so many others that really feel attracted of being a global citizen. Wyclef Jean is on our board as the founder of the Fujis, always identify himself as being a humble beginning of a refugee, his father from Haiti. And these people are really, I think, attracted by the notion of global citizen, and they like to contribute with their time, support, fame. And this is how we have been building over the last 10 years, the Global Citizen Forum community.
Are they coming to you now, or do you still have to reach out, or a bit of both?
A little bit of both. In order to attract a new circle of expertise and of fame, as you know, everybody has a 15 seconds of glory, but in 15 years, that glory shades away. So there's always somebody new that we identify as a potential, what we call the fame Hall of Fame of immigrants that have become global citizens and contribute to technology.
So you're always looking for the immigrant background.
Yes.
So that's the link. Always,
that's the link. Yeah.
The global citizen.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. So you came to Dubai, you met your wife, and you had to start from scratch. But you had some kind of a client base. Do you have to start recruiting straight away, or were you by yourself?
Yes, I started recruiting. I had employee number 4, George Aid, who is still with the company 16 years later. So we, again, we find that clients, of course, need our services. So it is not so much of a luxury, it is a necessity. It has to be presented that way. 20 years later, I would say it becomes more of a status symbol, having multiple residency, multiple citizenship. Still, I would say half of the people need it and half of the people would like to have it just in case. And it's a very human transactional business where you need to build that trust. I mean, we're talking of something that will cost between $250,000 to $2 million, being that a contribution or an investment. So it is not something you can really order online, even though digital has transformed the way clients find us and the way we reach out and start interacting. But believe me, before anybody press a button of paying that amount, they would like to meet and personally have that feeling. Where is your office? Who are you? Who I'm dealing with?
How are you going to take care of me?
Absolutely.
And my family?
Yeah.
So employing people, was that new to you? Or
Yes. I was an employee in order suddenly to start becoming an employer. I have now 100 people within my, I call the Arton family, which are spread in 12 jurisdictions around the world. And that family is growing. We're doubling every 5 years. I think that's the most challenging part. It is not finding clients, it's finding people.
Yes.
Once you find the right amount of people, they will find the right clients.
Do you have a specialized recruitment process you've learned over the last 15 years? So it's less hit and miss.
For key positions, I would like to interview them myself. We have, of course, an HR department who filters a lot of the people, the CVs. But the best, I would say, people in the company or people that I have met somewhere else in life in a different position, and I have identified their special gifts and attract them to my company.
Yeah, I call it hiring superstars.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't have a hole, if you find a superstar, they will bring the business.
Correct.
So you're looking for those nuggets in people.
Yeah.
So amazing. Because I've been to your offices and I get a really good feeling that you have committed people in your organization. Yeah. Do you share the vision with them? Or do you just give them tasks? Are there many people? Because what I found was when I had nothing and I had no offices, people couldn't share the vision. It's very easy for people to jump in now because they see it. But where were they 15 years ago?
No,
have you noticed that move, the change? Now you're a big organization.
I have shared my vision of where, first of all, the why, before even the vision, why we do this business. And yes, it is a very lucrative, it is a very personal business, but we never forget the why of why our clients needs us and why the countries we're working needs us. I think that's the first very important part of our Arton DNA in our company, where we need to understand the needs before we try to sell anything. Clients need that mobility. They need to realize the world is changing very quickly. And even though maybe today they might not need immediately their second citizenship, they're in Dubai doing very well in a very safe country. 50 years ago, as you know, just yesterday, Iran was that country. And, you know, the world was putting the red carpets to Iranians around the world, and the Shah was welcomed around the world. And here was nothing. And literally you were granting aids to the people living in the GCC to come and study in Iran. 50 years later, it's not too much.
Nobody even wants to know.
So you never know. But that uncertainty that can really generate from nothing, from a speech of one head of state, is something that resonates with millions of people. And that can create that uncertainty and that fear, which is the first sparkle into a phone call to somebody like us. What if?
Wow. As your phone started ringing now?
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
People want to say.
So we do surveys always before elections, and we publish them, and journalists and media loves data. So when we say, we always have a company surveying 1,000 millionaires, with 20% having 5 million and more and 5% having 100 million and more. The rest is certified high net worth, and asking them, if the elections A or B wins, what are your plans? Would you leave the country? Where would you go? Why? And we have done it in the United States, in UK, in Germany, now in Canada. And what we are realizing is, Dariush, that today, that segment of the 1% of the population is the first one that can decide and execute a relocation before anybody else.
Wow.
So they're the most sensitive and the most financially able. And with the solutions our industry provides, the reality is that they could literally within 24 hours relocate in any country in the world they wish to.
I think relationships are critical to your business, right? Forming great relationships, trust. It's not like you get somebody a second citizenship and it's goodbye, good luck. You have to keep in touch with them because circumstances change all the time.
Yes, there is a great, I would say, follow-up with clients over the periods of 5. I mean, again, when you've been doing it for 20 years and people know you're in the same building and you have the same phone, it's that longevity and not resistance.
Staying power.
Yeah,
You've been there and you're not going to go. Yeah. Has the game changed a little throughout the years with technology? 1. 2, has it become more saturated? Like, I'm interested because you said 400,000 Canada is 1.2 million. I would have thought it gone cheaper, right? But no, it's gone more. The entry level's gone more. Has the commission reduced or increased as a business owner?
So
as the reach is bigger, and I guess there's more countries available. We're going to talk about countries
correct.
as well.
When I started in this business, there used to be 5-6 countries: the traditional United States, Canada, UK, Australia. With the financial crisis of 2008 is where we really saw a lot of European countries coming up with this alternative way to attract money. So this is where Bulgaria, Hungary, Portugal, Greece, and my expertise of transferring the Canadian know-how to these European countries was key in really positioning ourselves as an industry leader. So out of today 12, soon 13 mandates of countries that we advise and work with on different level, from how to market, how to process, how to vet people, how to certify the source of funds, and how to execute the financial transactions.
So you literally are involved helping the government.
Correct.
How to implement it because you have history with Canada.
Yes.
And now
I still have a current private-public partnership with the government of Quebec. We're regulated financial intermediaries, so very few firms can say that they have 12 mandates with governments around the world, including a G7 government, European governments. So when any country in the world, which today, by the way, is increasing, looking into how to attract, as we mentioned, even from the United States to African countries, Southeast Asian countries, even here in the United Arab Emirates, the Golden Visa and the ranking of the UE passports are things that we have contributed with, are key in order to attract what they call the very best global citizens, and I quote President Trump. So the fight for this talent, the fight for this wealth, capital, and individuals, entrepreneurs is on. And it's the same as companies try to attract people. Now governments are trying to attract and retain this kind of people.
So at that level, so are you earning more money than before or more money now per
Yes,
client?
Yes.
Don't tell me how much.
No, I have no problem. With the growth of the industry, of course, the amounts increase because the countries realize that it's better to have less clients investing double or triple amount of money. We as an intermediary, the way we work with the governments in the PPP format is we're remunerated from the governments on a percentage. So the higher the amount...
Never the client.
Sometimes, of course. So we have a revenue from the client, which he hires us to consult which out of the 30 countries in the world are the best for him. Okay. We narrow it down to the 10 that we have vetted as platforms and programs that we recommend. And within that, based on his personal needs, we'll come up with 1 or 2 solutions, or sometimes together 2 or 3 different residency and a citizenship and a golden card here, and etc. So client pays us an advisory fee. And then once he selects which investments in which country he will apply for, those countries are remunerating us with the contracts we have as marketing agents, processing concessionaries, financial intermediaries, and etc.
And some of these people, I guess, want to go to another country and start a business, right? But they don't know how to start a business. Do you get involved as far as
No, we
that?
don't. So we are the leaders, we're the experts of one thing, is investment migration. So if we start getting into taxes and how to run a business, we will become the jack of all trades.
Indeed.
I believe that specialization and focus into being the leader, the expert, the best of the best in one thing is how I differentiate myself from every real estate agent in Dubai selling residency or citizenship around the world right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So because when I get my teeth into something, I become very aggressive. I'm a bull in a china shop. So suddenly the market has opened and there's only so much tentacles you have out there. one of you, because I noticed a few years ago, everybody I went, they said, we offer this, global citizenship, second citizenship, but we always go to Arton Capital, right? So you were the founding father, and he had all these tentacles, people going out reaching. What's happened to that area? Is that expanding? Are you qualifying people more? Or can we go direct to the governments?
So when we started the business 20 years ago, 90% was B2B. That means that we had to work with people around the world. First of all, as a small company, we couldn't have 15 offices and hundreds of employees. So we worked with people, which we called partners or agents around the world, who would identify the clients, gather the documents, recommend them which program, and then in order to execute the procedure, they have to go through somebody that the governments have vetted, like us. So that was, as I said, 95% of my business when I started. Today, this is below 50%. Because a lot of those agents became my competitors, because a lot of the countries decided to liberalize the way people can reach out and don't regulate.
They want to have more money coming in. So.
Exactly. So instead of necessarily working with 5, 10 companies, they would say every client can come and apply. So a lot of European countries are non-regulated, which creates a lot of fraud problems, because then you have unscrupulous intermediaries, you have local developers flipping all departments, clients losing money, but the volume is higher. So the country sees a higher number of people coming in, not necessarily making more money. And this is about to change. Europe and the European Commission is really focusing on trying to regulate this industry and create accountability for stakeholders like us, which is excellent for us, because we already are highly regulated in Canada as financial intermediaries. So in terms of KYC and compliance and everything else that we do, 90% of the people on the market don't have the capacity to do it. So a consolidation in the industry will definitely come very soon. And we see already a lot of programs coming to senses that they need to have a regulation and a relationship with companies that they can hold accountable.
Amazing. Out of, let's say, 100 hours, what hours do you spend with your staff, with clients, and now with governments? Your personal time?
25% of the time, I keep it for myself.
Visualizing
the future of the industry, of the company, of myself.
And I think physically, practically, yes. What does that mean? You sit on the beach meditating, you walk with a wife. Do you go to Bali? I know you've recently been to India, right?
Yeah.
You had your face painted and all sorts.
I actually do spend time alone.
Actually, all your body painted by the look of it. Yeah.
Holy celebration was my first great experience. But yes, literally it means long walks in the forest or in the beach. This is where I have the best ideas, and some of the best deals I have made in my life have been a product of those walks. Wow. I realize as well that even with important clients and partners, I go for walks with them, and we discuss while walking instead of sitting and drinking coffee. Much more productive way of generating ideas and bonding somehow. 25% I would say is with my team, making sure that those visions that I have are transmitted and understood within the team and the different departments. So we have an executive team that I'm constant communication, and then on a weekly or monthly basis with the different departments as well on a global level. Of course, we do our annual retreat where we gather all the people. And
you're still doing that?
Of course, yes.
Last one was in Ras Al Khaimah. Is
Correct.
That the retreat? Yes.
Yes, that's the most recent one, last December. So we.
When you say retreat, how long people spend with you? A day, 2 days?
2 days, two full days of really exchanging and teaching and talking about different elements, and 1 day of just bonding experiences. So wherever we are in the world, we'll do something local, desert, pearl diving, the strip line in Iraq, longest zip line. So we have to have fun. I mean, that is always an important part. And I would say 1/3 of the time is for me where I make deals. And making a deal means talking to a government, pitching a product and a service on a government level, B2G, or talking to our clients that have 100 million to a few billions and more.
And not many people can have that dialogue with people worth super rich people, right?
So
it's very difficult to get, let's say, like you said, a driver, a chauffeur, or somebody that you saw potential in. They can't have money conversations with somebody who's worth 100 million.
Of course they can. They have to be taught, but they can.
So you're teachable.
I've literally picked people from the restaurants and I've put them in
Straight
front of...
away they can't. They had to be
Not
taught
straight
through
forward,
time.
of course, yes.
So what
yes.
do they do? They shadow you?
Shadow me, yeah. Same way as probably I have learned it by shadowing some of my bosses at the beginning and reading a lot. So I believe a lot in coaching and on spend reading books, podcasts, going to conferences with my coach, with people who can really help me achieve my goals. Is something that I a lot would like to share that same experience with my employees, where I give them any training that they want. So if any employee comes to me with a request of any course or any training or coaching that he needs to get better, will be granted.
That's amazing. Are you as driven as you are now as you were 20 years ago or 10 years ago? You're in your 40s, I guess, right?
Late 40s.
Late 40s. So I'm not as driven as I was before. I'm in my late 50s. So are you as driven?
I'm more driven. Yeah.
Why? Tell me. How?
Because
Why?
I don't need to now, and it's a different kind of drive. The first 10 years was a survivor.
Desperation.
It was a survivor drive. You have that image in your head that that's a moment you'd never want to go again to it. So you have to work really, really hard to make sure that you have your net, your safety net that will allow you to protect you from never falling down to that.
Do you think that's your Bulgarian side? Because I think maybe that may be my Iranian side. Because Iranians aren't optimists now because of what's happened to them over the last hundreds of years. So it's always because, not pessimism, but they don't see the future as very bright. So just in case.
Yeah.
Just in
I'll
case.
say more Armenian than Bulgarian.
Oh, is it more, of course. I mean, they had more troubles than everyone.
They've been, yes, for a couple of 100 years, they've been persecuted.
Because I see these people, I don't have enough fun. I see these people go on these retreats, they're dancing away. And I'm like, if I was there, where would I be? I'll be in the corner, just sipping the drink, looking at everyone. I just don't think I relax that much ever in my life. And that's because I'm always, for most of this, I'm led by fear of not losing again. I remember that pain too much. That rarely I dance freely. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I see people, I admire them. I don't pity them. I think, I wish I could just relax. Because there's something inside me going, just in case something could go wrong, right? I'm not that goal-driven now because goals have changed and you reached most of them. What do you think? Because you're the first person I've ever met who says that they have that fear of going back, and that's the driving force.
That was the driving force at the beginning of my career then, is making sure that, again, I come from very humble beginning, as I mentioned before, Bulgarian communists. Even in Canada, the first year my parents were in a social welfare. I got a grant from the government to be able to study 1 year later. But guess what? I was in the same college with Justin Trudeau. So very quickly I realized that everything is possible. So removing the fear of failure was something that I learned through coaching and being fearless.
Personal development. Coaching.
Absolutely, yes.
Who was your first coach? So you always
Stephen Covey, Stephen Covey in Canada.
Yeah, 7 Habits.
Dan Sullivan.
Amazing. Tony Robbins, maybe?
Yeah. No, not Tony Robbins. And then I had a setback in my career at Nesbitt Burns, and somebody gave me Robin Book's Sharma, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Wow.
And I believe a lot that this is where I really come up with an idea of, starting my business and having the visualizing the goal and making it happen. So a couple of years later, I met Robin. I invited him to come and speak. I would call him a friend today.
Yes.
And that's been a transformational as well for me too.
I met Robin in December at Coca-Cola Arena.
Yes,
I don't know if you met him while he was here.
Yes.
Did you meet him?
No, I wasn't here. He left when I came.
He was a flying visit. He came, did
correct.
it, and went back. But the funny thing was, he did the same talk. I did Europe, and I was like, if I was, but I speak on stage, but I try to speak something different. But this old style, the keynotes,
Yes.
they have certain keynotes, and they say the same thing, but the same passion they did 10 years ago at your place. I was like, oh, okay.
I called him.
I like him very, very much, by the way.
Last month I was transiting in South Africa, and I go in the washroom in the airport, and I hear this old gentleman, "Welcome to my office." I was like, hold on, I have heard this. And I remember in his speeches, he always talked about, and he shows the picture of the most friendliest and happiest person he ever met was the janitor cleaning the toilets in the Johannesburg airport. I called Robin. I said, Robin, I'm here. Can't you believe it's the same guy?
No,
yes,
it was the
same guy. Took a picture, sent it to him. So it's phenomenal how, you know, a speech 20 years later and a person in that speech, it's still a reality today.
Isn't that incredible?
Absolutely.
No, I love his energy, and he's in Rome now. He lives
Correct.
in Rome.
Yes, he lives
in
Italy,
it's my
in
favorite
Tuscany,
city in the
and,
world, as you know,
yeah.
gladiators. So, where are you going to go in the next 5 years? What's going to happen to Arton Capital in the next 5 years? We sit here 5 years down the line. Everything's gone according to plan. I'm sitting here thinking, I need to work with you. I've got so many opportunities and ideas and stuff. So if somebody wants to work with you, like somebody like me, how would they approach you, get your attention and the potential? Or would you don't want to work in partnerships?
Well, the one good way is to get me on a podcast.
Try to impress you for the next hour, right?
So
well, you were kind enough to help me with my golden visa, so I'm eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I would love to work with your team anyway. So
Pleasure.
George has reached out, and
Yes.
we can do amazing things. But I'm thinking, listening to you, I'm like, we could do great things, really great things.
Well, I think that our industry is only going to grow because the number of people with wealth is increasing dramatically, and the number of wealthy people not feeling safe is even increasing faster. So no question that demand is going to be there. The supply is my specialty. It's developing these products, relationship with governments, and how to do programs that will be transparent, that will be interesting, attractive, and will actually answer the need of this growing demand. So both supply, demand, great future. Now, we're only talking about these people that can afford this amount of hundreds of thousands to millions of contribution or investment, which is 0.1% to 1% of the population. My dream is in the next 5 years to transform the way every person is going to cross a border. And being through technology or through some of the ideas or lobbying that I do, I would see a world without visas.
Do you think it can happen?
Yes.
Even where we are right now?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. And many interviewers ask me, but if that happens, you will be without business. Yes, a world without visas.
You just transform to something else, right?
Correct. I believe that, and I'm convincing governments, and quite successfully, that visa-free agreements have to be signed, as many as possible. Because the power a passport has is where your passport can take you. And the most frustrating part is when you have a visualize a journey, a holiday, a business trip, and it has to start with, I need a visa. I need to go to an embassy and leave my passport. I was just with a gentleman now, and the embassy asked him to leave his passport for 3 weeks. I said, no way. I'm not going to leave you my passport for 3 weeks. So I said, I'm not going to go to your country, which means I'm not going to have that deal. Mm-hmm. So convincing government that this has to change. Everything has to be done technology, scan a barcode, apply, submit documents, verify, biometric, everything can be done from the platform.
You're getting involved in all that.
That's where Arton Capital is going. We want to facilitate the digital transformation for governments, facilitating the migration in the visa process and transforming it into something much more efficient, quicker, faster. And yeah, if we are becoming a government partner on that level to as many countries as possible and letting technology transform not for 500 families per year, but for 50 million, 100 million passengers per year using our passport index technology app, which right now we have already 40 million users. I think that the moment we activate that facility and this application to governments and to clients to be able to connect them, it is transforming, I think, transformational, definitely, technology-driven, relationship government-driven, and driven in a vision of opening the world through better bilateral agreements that will be based on technology, because that efficiency, and again, UAE has been a leader in this, and the leadership of this country realizing how important it is to have a powerful passport. I don't know if I've told you the anecdote about the UAE passport.
No. Is it the most
It's the number one.
It's number one at the
It
moment
is
because
number
it used to be, was it Luxembourg or Switzerland or something?
Different index. But
Okay.
we started 10 years ago, the Passport Index, as an internal tool. So Hrant Bogosian, who is our CMO and with the company from the very beginning, everything that you see in terms of branding, marketing, logos, technology is really the person behind, the brand behind. And when we were having a hard time to understand within all the travel of our employees and clients, where can you find reliable information about visa requirements? He created an internal technology platform where you could put your passport and you can see with that passport, where can you go with visa, without visa. That was not available on the internet 10 years ago.
I didn't know that.
And he called it the Passport Index. He didn't even tell me. It was a complete surprise where one day he called me like, go on that website. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Wow, where is that? Who is that? Then at the bottom I say it's Arton, made by Arton, wow. Empowered by Arton. So suddenly a journalist out of Silicon Valley falls in it by mistake, looking for some visa restrictions, and writes an article. Huffington Post writes an article, and the website crashed with 1 million visitors within a day. Wow. Then we knew we were into something, and we wanted to create and upgrade that platform, providing live information about visa restriction in a cool way that people can really play around it. Averagely, they spend 4.5 minutes on the website just to figure out with that passport now. We added things, of course, as we go. If I have another passport, how is my personal mobility? So you add another one, and then you see how the world looks to you. And I can share some infographics later. My personal world with 8 passports is I can travel to 92% of the world today without thinking if I should apply for a visa or not.
Wow. Is that how many passports you have?
Yes.
Crazy.
UE, when we started this Passport Index as a platform, UE was number 33. And I remember very vividly getting a phone call in the middle of around 7 o'clock in the afternoon on my mobile number, from a mobile number, saying, your Passport Index? I said, yes, perfect. We are calling from Her Excellency Rima Al-Hashimi, Foreign Ministry of Cooperation. We just signed 2 visa-free agreements with the countries. Can you please update your index tonight?
So the government's looking, you see where they lie in the index that you created on your website. Crazy.
We didn't know, but from Sheikh Mohammed's through all the leadership, through Foreign Ministry, Sheikh Abdullah, we're using the Passport Index on a daily basis, see where is the ranking.
Wow.
So we get this phone call and we said, well, 2 countries visa-free, that goes up, but we'd like to receive the proofs because there is a process. It's in Canada. And they said, well, listen, you have to update tonight because we would like to make a news and all the UE media that UE has decided to go up, and that's the first 2 steps. So I convinced my R&D department in Canada, can you please update, because I receive a call, seems very legitimate. They said if there is a news, I'll have a meeting next day with the executive office in Emirates Towers. If there is no news, I said, in the morning you're just downgraded. Sure. Let's take the risk. Sure. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, it happened. Of course, we upgraded all the news and Gulf News and National Reflects Passport Index, And I go to the executive office in Emirates Towers, and there is a team called the UE Passport Task Force, created by the Foreign Ministry to actually say, we would like to provide to our citizens the best passports in the world. Can we do it together? You have to reflect every visa-free agreement we're going to sign. And in a span of what they had 5 years, they did it in less than 2. They went from number 33 to number 1.
Wow.
By having the mission of providing to their citizens the best passports, allowing them to travel around the world visa-free, hassle-free, which is part of the vision of 2030, and every element of happiness in the Ministry of Happiness is very much reflecting, these initiatives of the leadership of this country, providing the very best to their own citizens.
Sometimes you're getting frustrated because
yes,
they don't have the same vision or time scales.
In our work, especially in my 24 hours, I have to deal with governments and different administrations around the world, which not everybody is in the same efficiency level, on the same drive. But when you're in it for a very long time, politicians comes and goes.
Yeah, I was going to say there's elections and changes.
Exactly. So we see that our industry and the mission behind it survives political swings to the left or to the right.
Wow.
And there is no way to stop it. I don't believe literally that migration or flow of human capital can be stopped. It can be controlled. And I think technology is definitely the future. Mm-hmm. But this has to be seen as an acceleration that can provide better human mobility, better controlled, more safe for the sake of everybody, governments as well as passengers.
I guess the first time it got tested was during COVID, yes?
Yeah.
And that was a good way of, or a bad way of seeing how travel can be controlled through technology and governments and fear and...
Correct. It was a wake-up call for a lot of people, a lot of governments.
Name me your top 3 countries that if you had, let's say you went to billionaire, you had hundreds of thousands of dollars and you got a beautiful family you want to take care of. What would those, if you open to that, what would those top 3 countries be and why?
In today's world, you don't need to be a billionaire to be able to live in 2 or 3 countries around the world. Literally, my morning meeting was with a Swiss entrepreneur who was living in 3-4 countries. He's an ultra high net worth person, but he definitely spends his time between Switzerland, Dubai, and South Africa. I think in today's reality, with the technology and as well with the migration tools that our industry provide, that lifestyle is very much possible. In my personal case, I think UAE is always going to be one part of this perfect world scenario where I would spend an amount of time here. Even if I don't run the business from here anymore, that would be quality of life, stability, opportunities, and the center of connection that is very important. Europe.
What's the capital needed now to come to UAE? That would be the golden visa.
In order to have the golden visa, you need to make an investment of about 2 million dirham into a property or into
it's
a
about
bank.
$600,000.
Correct. And then you have a 10-year golden visa. Or you can receive the golden visa by nomination, as you received it through companies like ours that work with the government and with special products. So we can nominate people to receive the golden visa by what we call nomination.
Amazing.
And we have Europe, where even though today politically it's very unstable, economically probably very shifting with the post-Ukrainian and Russian invasion that will transform a lot of countries, the lifestyle of people spending 3 to 4 months in Europe, especially the summer when it's too hot here, always will be a preferred choice. Mm-hmm. So having a residence in Greece, in Italy, or in Spain is always a top selection from any investors, because any residence within these 3 countries allows you the freedom of movement within the European Union. Mm-hmm. Italy, I believe, will be one of the most attractive countries forward with the leadership that they have with Prime Minister Meloni, with the flat tax rate of 200,000, even for people who want to spend more than 3 months, will become very tax efficient.
I have a British passport. I don't know if it stands for anything anymore since they got out of Europe. But I'm looking at I'm actually looking at buying something in Tuscany.
Yeah.
Do I need to come to you regarding that to advise me of taxes and things and purchases?
So the tax issues, we'll recommend you to the best tax lawyers in Italy. However, to get the immigration, absolutely. There is an investment threshold where you can make an investment from 250,000 to 500,000 to 1 million into the Italian economy.
So I could have an Italian passport?
Residency.
Residency.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, residency allows you to enter and live in the country. In order to obtain the citizenship, you need to spend an amount of period of time in the country and pass a citizenship test, which is normally in the language of the country, Italian or Spanish or Portuguese. Okay. Citizenship, immediate citizenship can only be given by few countries in the world, which right now is Malta, having a very pure citizenship program. There are few countries who do it by nomination, what we call. So Austria is one of them. Hungary, Canada, and United States have residency programs only. And the Caribbean, 5 islands in the Caribbean give you an immediate citizenship. Antigua and Barbuda, the country we work the most, in Grenada. Then you have St. Lucia, Dominica, and St. Kitts.
Amazing, thank you. So going back to Italy in my own personal selfish way,
yes.
How long can I stay in my apartment or house or villa in Tuscany?
So once you have a residency in...
without a residency, with my British passport?
Well, as a tourist, you can only spend 90 days.
So max 90 days.
Correct.
As a citizen, I can stay as long as I want.
As a resident, you can stand as long as you want, yes. Not only in Italy, but anywhere else in Europe. So actually a lot of British passport holders are finding hard to live and stay longer than 3 months in Europe.
Yes.
So they are getting a residency in any EU country, allowing them to have the
How much
lifestyle.
would that cost in Italy?
250,000.
Without speaking Italian?
250,000. It's the minimum threshold in all EU countries right now, being that Hungary, Italy,
And you
Greece.
don't have to speak the language?
You don't have to speak the language, and there is no minimum time you need to spend in the country in order to keep your residence. Yes.
So we were on holiday a few years back in this hotel in Tuscany, and I shared my gladiator movement, and the guy said, "Did you know you stay in the same bedroom as Russell Crowe did when they were filming the Gladiators?" So seriously, he goes, "Yeah," and the villa where they filmed Gladiator was next door. So we went round, and as I was looking through the fence, you've seen the movie Gladiator? When the horses are coming down, they run over the child and the wife. It was that villa. And this knock on my shoulder said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh," told him. And he goes, "So I own the house." Because next time you want to come, you can hold an event, do it at the villa.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Look, just the funny story is that in November, Gladiator 2 was being released. Paramount Studios phoned me up. Now, back in May 2023, we decided to have Gladiator 2 at such a date. Happened to be the same weekend as the launch of the movie. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Paramount phones up and I'm like, oh, we're going to get sued. But I have proof that I decided this date prior. They actually phoned me up and they said, "We would like you to promote the movie."
It's amazing.
I said, "Well, as long as you show an advert or a 30-second video of Gladiator, my Gladiator movement, before every movie."
Oh, wow.
And they said yes.
This is amazing.
Isn't it?
Congratulations. Great idea.
We talk about how the universe lines up. One final thing. We have lots of...
And how you can convert the fear into an opportunity.
Yes. I truly believe I'm a great guy and I really want to do well and I send positive energy and the universe brings it. I really believe in miracles.
Yeah.
And it happens. I'm a walking, talking miracle. So I really shouldn't be here many times over. One final thing is lots of people with crypto wealth. In regards to security and safety, how is the world looking at crypto wealth at the moment? Is that something that you kind of try to familiarize the governments that not all crypto people are dodgy people or money can be monitored? How does that work in your line of work?
Very relevant and timely because some countries are starting right now to accept at least the source of your funds that you're going to demonstrate to a country before immigrating as an investor to be from crypto. So it's very fresh, very new. Countries don't necessarily understand it. If I don't understand, definitely an administration of a Caribbean country or European bureaucratic administration will not do it easily. But again, UE has been a leader in that field. So there is VERA, as you know, which is the agency here for regulating this crypto industry. So we're taking some of the companies involved in VERA to the Caribbean in April. There is a conference, in Antigua and Barbuda called the CIS, Caribbean Investment Summit, where we'll take some of the companies from Dubai to teach to the UE government how they can validate source of funds. When somebody comes and shows you a wallet with 100 million, how can you know that that is his money, where that money came from? Is already tools that UE has and they're willing to share with other countries.
Because I think that's the way forward
Of
now,
course.
isn't it? Because hard cash is kind of disappearing. It's more like digital.
It will take more time to be able to pay for your residency and citizenship or make the investments with crypto. Eventually, I believe strongly that this will be a reality. It will become like a fiat transfers that you'll be able to do from your digital wallet. But already the step that they're taking, that they will take that digital wallet as a real asset that you have without understanding it and having at least the verification of the source of funds is a step forward.
Wonderful. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.